Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We are covering our 8th official webinar. We're going to cover the co-curricular activities, which we want to call the cherries on top. Much of this has already been referenced in several of the other webinars we've presented, which have covered everything from the overview, which was a long one that covered a little aspects of everything, to our program specific webinars that covered the MIA, MPSA, MIPs, the DC degrees. And then we've also had time for admissions, what it's like to be student here with our student presentation. And then most recently, we had Matt Upton do a career talk about 2 weeks ago. So we welcome you for this co-curricular. It's probably going to be a little shorter than normal, but definitely if you do have questions for us, please put those in the chat box. Or if there's an opportunity where we're taking a breath and you have a question that's related to the topic that we're on, go ahead and unmute and ask that question, and we'll be happy to address it right then. So the presenters today are going to be myself. I'm Catherine Meyer, Director of Admissions Recruitment here at the Bush School, and Matt Upton, who is our Assistant Dean in Career and Student Services. Between the two of us, we have a lot of years working with these wonderful students here at the Bush School, and just want to make sure that you're well informed of what to expect in coming into a program like ours. So the agenda today is basically building on the student success of what you're already coming in with. So we're going to talk a little bit about the faculty mix of what they look like, the tracks and concentrations and how to mix your courses with some electives, the leadership and writing programs, the speakers and conferences that we hold here. We also have a number of institutes and centers and programs that bring in guest speakers and opportunities to network, international opportunities. When that comes back online and we are traveling again, we'll have some opportunities for you to take advantage of that, either tied to a capstone or maybe an outside course for a study abroad. There's also language support for our MIA students. Matt will talk a little bit more about the career support that he offers for internships and career work. And then student-based benefits with the organizations we have. And then I'll just do a real short conclusion of just the aid highlights and how we help you succeed here without having to worry about a lot of debt. So again, what's on your mind, be sure you put those questions out there for us. So as just a quick overview, the Bush School Advantage, just remember we are a graduate school only. There are no undergrads here, no PhDs here. That may change in the coming years, but for now, we are focused just on our master's degree students. And so you will find faculty in their offices. You will be able to go to one-on-one talks with them and really get some insight and help in addition to making those connections in the field that you're wanting to get into. We did open in 1997. We'll be having our 25th anniversary next year, and we have just over 2,200 alumni. If you hadn't seen this, we enrolled about 82 MPSA students last year and about 83 MIA. The goal is probably to be closer to about 90 to 95 students, but COVID obviously had impacted a little bit with the enrollment, but we hope to be back on track next year with that. The MIA MPH is a smaller degree. They bring in between 2 to 5 students every other, it's about a year and a half break between them. And then the MIP is an executive level Master of International Policy, and it's looking to do between 6 to 10 students a year. We also have students online through our executive Master of Public Service and a mix of students online and in-house with our certificates. So you may have people in your classes that are in addition to the ones in the degree programs. So as a reminder, just as a bigger picture, the Master of Public Service Administration, Master of International Affairs are both of our 2 bread and butter degrees. They're 2 years. The MIA Master of Public Health is our newest degree. It is a 3-year degree where students start the first year and a half with public health and then come to us for the second year and a half. As far as the Master of International Policy, it is a 30-hour 1-year degree, but it does require, and I need to fix that, it's 4 years of professional international experience now. We did change that over the summer. Online offerings, we have an Executive Master of Public Service that requires 5 years of experience, Certificate Advanced International Affairs, Homeland Security, Nonprofit Management, and Public Management. There are also 2 new ones with Spatial intelligence and another then cybersecurity policy that I believe I might have on another slide. Essentially, the acclaimed faculty mix, just remember when you're taking classes with us, you're taking with a mix of both academic professionals and the practitioners who are going to give you the nitty gritty of what it's like to run a nonprofit, what it's like to work in the intelligence agency, what it's like to be an analyst for such and such Middle Eastern area. And they can help you learn how to write effective memos, how to give presentations, how to cut through the chase of all the noise in certain articles you're reading, what you're hearing, and get to the point so that you are sought after in your job in being able to make a difference and someone that people can rely on. So our Public Service Administration Department, you have a number of different backgrounds from nonprofit management and finance to city management, public and private organization management, performance measurement. One of our professors coming out of the Austin area has been doing that her whole career. Texas education and school finance. It's just a great mix of both people who are acting it and doing that work in their day-to-day and those who are researching and on cutting edge of the research in that area, maybe health policy. On the International Affairs Department, you have a number of high-profile practitioners, including Jim Olson, former CIA Chief of Counterintelligence. We just added another intelligence person who will also be taking over some more additional coursework in teaching that. You have an administrator of USAID. He is running our pandemic preparedness and emergency response. You have an ambassador for US Foreign Service, Larry Napper, whose picture is on this slide. RAND Corporation, UN Development Project Manager, top lectures and research in a number of different regional fields. You're not going to feel left out in the DC environment or anywhere else of coming to College Station and feeling like you're missing out on these day-to-day practitioner having something contribute to you. So these faculty are also going to be your academic advisors, which you're assigned as soon as you get here during orientation. And they're career liaisons, so they will help you make those connections to the next step. So you're going to build these lifelong professional relationships that even our alumni from years back will still come and ask advice and interact with us. And they'll do the same thing in the Career Services Office because you are ours forever. You can come back and utilize our resources for as long as you desire. So as a Master of Public Service Administration, is a reminder for the tracks and elective concentrations. You have to complete a track, public management, public policy analysis, nonprofit. The elective concentrations is up to you. So a student may come in and say that I want to focus on public policy analysis and work specifically with education issues. And that could be different than another colleague of theirs who wants to work on something with health issues or the environment. So you are able to mix and match your courses to really tailor your degree. And many times people will utilize that individually designed concentration and come up with their own. So remembering that the flexibility of this program and the MIA I'll talk about next really is a matter of you choosing what you want to develop for your specialty for a future career. The Master of International Affairs, also including the MIA and PH and the MIP, you are required for a track either in national security and diplomacy or international development and economic policy, but the concentrations you are required for 2, at least in the MIA. The other 2, you can kind of put those together as desired. But with the concentrations, you have to have at least 1 tied to your track and the other one's completely elective. Choose them from any of the list. And it takes about 3 courses to complete that concentration. So lots of choices here. There's over 16 different choices now. And there are students who will still sometimes create their own, maybe working with the engineering department with nuclear non-proliferation. So really being able to utilize the strengths of our faculty here, talking to your colleagues, finding out what the institutes here are studying and what their professionalism and bringing in speakers and maybe changing course while you're here. But for the most part, people come in knowing pretty much the area they want to go into and are picking and choosing those classes to develop that. So you have a core of 5 to 7 courses and 9 to 11 electives that you will choose. Those electives can come from outside of the Bush School. They often do. Texas A&M departments across the campus. I've listed a few here that typically I'll see quite often that students are choosing classes from. And then you can also earn a graduate certificate that, as you're putting together your electives, might even enhance a particular study area. So for instance, I'm going to go on the side of Master of Public Service Administration. We've had a number of students who have lined up their Homeland Security courses that they're already doing for their concentration, and also paying for the certificate application and saying, when I'm taking these courses, I want them to double count also for the certificate, so that when they graduate, they will earn both their Master of Public Service Administration with the certificate in Homeland Security, because it only took 4 to 5 classes to earn that. And they're already doing those as their electives. So this can work very well in adding some additional credentials for a very low cost. I did mention earlier we had added geospatial intelligence and cybersecurity policy. All of these, except for the cybers, are also available online. So sometimes people will dip their toes and experiment with some of these classes before they even come and start the master's degree. It is a way to start classes in the spring, because most of our masters only start in the fall. Or it's a way to test and see how you like these classes, to see if you want to devote a full-time master's degree. So customization of courses, don't forget those certificates. And as far as professionalism, you are required for an internship typically between your first and second years, unless you come in with substantial work experience. And when we say substantial, usually that's somewhere between that 3 to 6 years, depending on if it's related to your field and if you want to waive it. Sometimes students with military backgrounds can also decide if they want to waive it. So you will work with both the career office and with your department to decide if that's an option for you. You do have a choice between domestic or internationally based internships. And if you get an internship that is not funded, you can receive some career service funding. And that is eligible by attending a number of different workshops that they offer. The least amount, I believe, is about $750 if you stay local. And it's about to about $2,500 if you're doing an international internship for the summer. The MIA also has option of language immersion. So if you are finding that you're not working on your Mandarin the way you thought you would and need to take that test soon, you can do a language immersion in place of the internship. It's completely up to you. And then part of your core courses is a team-based capstone project where you are working with your classmates. And you have a client agency that you will have some say-so in which one you choose. You're going to hear from the faculty of who the clients are, what the premise of that study will be for that semester or year, and you'll get to rank order your top 3 and choose those. So the MPSA is a full year, the MIA is 1 semester, and you will create a deliverable to that client. Very intensive, very hard work. But I know students often say that that is one of the most dynamic courses that they took, because you're taking all the past work you've been doing and putting it into play and creating something that you can then talk about for professional experience. So clients do come from a number of different areas, including federal, state, local government, nonprofits, government contractors. This next slide will show you some of the agencies that we have had over the past years. And again, they are broken out by those headings. So federal runs the gamut, has a lot of different versions, a lot of ABC agencies. State, obviously we're focused just on Texas here, but we've also had some even in Louisiana and surrounding states that might have been represented. Local capstone projects have included a lot of nonprofits and government work. The nonprofits itself has also included a number of agencies, sometimes even international NGOs, and doing some work with maybe better resources and doing some background readings. And then obviously the private industry is well represented too. And I'm going to have Matt Upton cover the next few slides. And Matt has actually run one of the capstone projects we did with Habitat for Humanity. So if Matt, is there some parting words you want to say about the capstone before you lead into your next slides? Now's your time.
Great, thank you, Catherine. Thanks everybody for being here today. Yeah, I mean, capstone is a great culmination of the things that you learn in your first year, and then what you've oftentimes learned in that summer internship between your first and second year. And then you begin to get to apply it to help a real world client solve the dilemma or the issue or the problem that they're facing to serve their clients or to improve their business or do anything that they're trying to accomplish. So it is a great way to kind of pull everything together. The capstone is in place of what some people would think of as a master's thesis. For some master's programs, you might have a paper that you do individually, but this is a group project, as it mentions here. Some really neat projects that our students have done in the past. And as Catherine said, this is also a really great way for you to begin to apply some of those things and make some connections for your future career. So great about Capstone. So we also have, in addition to your capstone project, some things that we have in place that help you in that process. Or we do have a public service leadership program that's headed up by Holly Kasper-Bauer. And the process of the leadership program is that you're going to come in your first year and you're going to spend some time really learning about yourself, taking some time to learn a little bit more about who you are as a leader. We know and we believe that all of the students that come into our program are leaders in some capacity and will continue to grow in their leadership in their career after they graduate. So we take some time for you to come in and learn about yourself through things like Myers-Briggs type indicator, StrengthsFinder. Some of you may have done that already in the past, but it's a good way for you to continue doing that using other programs like Kolb's Learning Style Inventory, a personal values questionnaire that we use. And so it informs your understanding of who you are as a leader. And then you begin to use that information as you work in group projects and as you continue to move towards that capstone project in your second year. So it's really interesting for our students to come in at the beginning of their second year in their capstone group and for Holly to come back in and say, okay, here are your personalities that are represented in these 6 students that are in this room right now. And here's some of the things that are going to be really easy to work with because of the team dynamics that we have represented here. And here are some of the challenges that you're going to face as a team. It's really eye-opening and insightful when you know that about each other going into the work that you're going to do for the next year. We also have a writing program. We have Cindy Razor, who leads our writing program, and she teaches a non-credit bearing writing course that a number of our students find very helpful in enhancing their writing skills. It's no secret that writing and written communication is one of the top skills that employers are looking for, regardless of the employment sector you're looking at. And the public sector is no exception to that. And so Cindy works with our students in that class. She will not edit your papers, but she will work with you to help you think through who's my audience, how do I structure my writing, how do I make sure that I'm not writing a formal academic paper if I'm writing to a group of practitioners, or how do I make sure that I'm addressing the interests and the goals that are set forth by my faculty member who does want this written as an academic paper on the topic that I'm working on. We have also just hired a part-time writing consultant who can also assist Cindy with that, as she'll be joining our team in January. We had that position filled and then COVID hit and we're in the process of trying to fill it. So we've just got that refilled. But if you want to see more about the writing program and the writing portfolio that our students participate in, if they choose to, you can go to this website here, sites.google.com/site/Bush School Writing/home. And you can see some more information that Cindy Razor has put out there. For those who complete the leadership program, Holly has a Dean's Leadership Certificate, and she has some checkpoints that you have to complete in order to get that. If you complete that and you do the writing e-portfolio, the reflective learning e-portfolio that Ms. Razor manages, then you also can earn a Medal of Excellence at graduation. And again, there's more information about that on the website. We do have a number of research institutes, centers, and programs, both at the Bush School and at Texas A&M University. So there are wonderful opportunities to enhance your research skills, do some specialized studies, some specialized work in the areas of science, technology, and public policy, trade and economics, international affairs, grand strategy, women, peace and security, cyber policy, Middle East programs. And then you can see the other ones that are also listed here at the university. So there's over 200 centers and institutes at Texas A&M, plus the ones that we have in the Bush School. And those are great places to find opportunities, oftentimes paid opportunities on research grants or research projects, where you can go in and use your research skills and your writing skills and learn how to apply what you're learning to academic writing and research. So some really good opportunities for you. And sometimes also those can turn into internship opportunities depending on what your interests are, that you can see some of the places that are listed here right now. Okay, I'll let Catherine get to the conferences and the speakers. Again, this is just a sampling of the national and regional speakers that come through the Bush School. They come through our academic departments oftentimes. And then we also are closely associated with the George and Barbara Bush Library Foundation, which is housed in the Annenberg Presidential Conference Center right next door to ours. We're also right next door to the George Bush Presidential Library. And they also have some research and conference and speaker opportunities as well. And so those are opportunities that we're seeing come back in person this fall a little bit. And then it sounds like from what we're hearing now, we're going to see even more of that in the spring semester. My expectation is that by next fall, we'll be back pretty much to our normal routines. Now, obviously, COVID controls will still be in place in certain situations, but a number of these opportunities, I think, will be back in person by the time many of you are here if you apply and come through the program this next year. Also, conferences, just a sampling of them. There's that Texas Symposium on Women, Peace, and Security in the US, the Global Pandemic Policy Summit that was actually going on long before COVID ever hit. We've hosted that. That typically rotates and is hosted either here in College Station or in Washington, DC every other year. We have a nonprofit management forum. So again, you can see a number of the opportunities that are available here for you to attend as a student. International opportunities, Catherine mentioned this a while ago, and we want to just reiterate it here that in normal times, we do have study abroad programs overseas. Some of those places in the past have been China, Germany, Egypt, Qatar, Turkey, Canada. We also have some reciprocal exchange programs with universities and other places. The one in Wales is at Swansea University in Swansea, Wales. Students in that situation, it's actually a combined study abroad and internship abroad. So you spend 2 weeks in classes at Swansea University, and then you go do a 4-week internship either with the Welsh General Assembly there in Cardiff, or some of our students have gone to London and spent 4 weeks with the British Parliament doing an internship, and then come back to Swansea to do 2 more weeks of classes. So it's an 8-week-long program, 2 weeks of classes, 4-week internship, and then 2 weeks back in the class. And you end up walking away with one of your elective credits taken care of. And so that's a neat opportunity for students interested in that. We've not been able to do that the last 2 summers, so we're hoping to have that kicked off again for the summer of 2023, if all goes as planned. And then finally, we do have some capstone projects that have international components to it. Not all of our students on those capstone projects end up going overseas for their internship, and sometimes they're not able to go at all, just depending on the circumstances surrounding it and the timing. But we have had students who've been able to travel to meet with clients in international contexts. So one of the things that Catherine mentioned is language study. That is something that is available. Some of the language support is available to students in both departments, but in the International Affairs program, there is that language requirement of being able to pass an oral language exam at the intermediate low level with ACTFL. We also provide Rosetta Stone resources to you, online membership to Rosetta Stone at no cost. We offer that to International Affairs students first because they have this requirement to pass the language exam. And then if we have any additional licenses, we offer that to MPSA students and to faculty and staff as well. You get to choose the language you work with. We do have oral language groups that practice typically on a weekly basis, and we either hire an international student here at A&M who is a native speaker of the language, or someone who is fluent in the language to come in and lead in-person language groups. Those are open to students in both degree programs. You don't have to be in the International Affairs program to participate. And again, there's no cost for that. You can also see that we have a very collaborative environment. It is a small school environment, 80 students, 80 to 90 students in your overall class. So you're going to see that our faculty to student ratio is about 1 to 10. And then there are typically 15 to 20 students in a class. And we have an average here of 16, but so you're going to have plenty of opportunity to interface with your faculty members and get to know them very well. Well, most people don't come to graduate school with the hopes of just getting a degree and then walking away and not actually using it in a career. So we like to share information for you. We do provide career services. In addition to my role here being to assist with career services, I also have 2 other staff members. Marilyn Santiesteban oversees our career advising, our career programming, and she manages all of our career workshops. Catherine mentioned career workshops tied to internship or language immersion funding. We do require that first-year students attend a series of 6 career workshops at the beginning of their fall semester. And in that, if you attend all of those, then you qualify to apply for additional funding. And that's funding in addition to what Catherine will talk to you about in financial aid here in a few minutes. And she was exactly right. If it's an internship, a local internship, you qualify for up to $750. If it's an international internship or language immersion, you qualify for up to $2,500. If it's domestic, major metropolitan outside of Texas, so Washington, D.C. or New York or Atlanta or Denver, then you qualify for up to $2,000. And then if it's major metropolitan within the state of Texas, so Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, San Antonio, or Austin, then it's up to $1,500. As far as employment rates, our employment rates are typically between 80 and 95% employed within 6 months of graduation. An employment rate, we consider someone employed when they're actually on the job. So for students going into international affairs who may be made a conditional offer but are waiting for their clearance to come through, if they're not in that job within 6 months of graduating, then we don't consider them employed unless they've taken on another full-time opportunity. So that's why you see it a little bit lower in that 83% range. And so that's usually the International Affairs Program students or graduates on the lower end of that. Public administration is typically between 90 and 95% employed within 6 months of graduation. And that's also what our colleagues at all NASPA and APSIA schools report, is at 6 months post-graduation. You can see that state and local nonprofit organizations and federal employment are typically our top 3 areas that our MPSA students go to, our public administration students go into. Whereas international affairs students, if you combine the federal number and the government contractor number, you can see that's where a majority of our international affairs students go to. Remember that 2020 was a bit of an anomaly because that's when the pandemic had just hit. We are working to gather the final data right now for the class of 2021. I think it'll look a little bit different. Probably won't have as many people going into the private sector and probably not quite as high on the percentage for continuing education. But we will see what that looks like. We should have that posted by the end of January, so you can see that information. And if you come in for interview conference weekend, we'll have that updated by the time that comes around. For student involvement, we have several internal student organizations here, the Public Service Organization that does service activities here in the community, Ambassadors Council that serves as hosts for a number of the speaking events that we have or to host guests as they come through. We have an internal Student Government Association. We have a student-led Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee, Social and Traditions Committee, opportunities for intramurals and environmental issues, tailgating, all of those types of things. And we do have some other organizations that are associated with the Bush School, the John Quincy Adams Society, Alexander Hamilton Society, and then some others. The career clubs are specific to students that are interested in specific career areas. We have one in international development, nonprofit management, cybersecurity, Those are some of the bigger ones that we have, and those are student-led, student-driven. So I'm going to turn it back over to Catherine, and she'll wrap us up by talking about the cost and aid of the programs.
Thank you, Matt. And I want to wrap this up with this type of emphasis, because the affordability of the program really is one of those cherries on top. The added benefit of not coming out with so much debt that you can't afford to choose the type of job that you want to choose. So I just want to reiterate that the MPSA and MIA are the two that are kind of our bread and butter degrees that we provide the most scholarship for. If you are looking for the shorter MIP, it's a one-year program. It doesn't offer this help, but 100% of our incoming full-time students are going to receive some level of scholarship, and they are merit-based scholarships. So we are looking primarily at academics, somewhat the testing scores, but they're optional for most people. So sometimes those are tossed out the window. And kind of where you're contributing to the classroom. What do you have as the benefit? Why should faculty choose you? And the more that they want a student in their classroom to be part of that class, sometimes the more money that's tied with it. Now, granted, we don't have unlimited funds, and so most students are going to be in that $3,000 to $5,000 per year range. But we cost around $13,400 right now in our overall one-year cost. And so that's a Texas rate. If you're coming to us from out of state or international, when we give that scholarship, you will also qualify for a non-resident waiver. We will make sure that that is put into play for you so that you will pay the Texas cost. So most of your education is going to be somewhere around that $8,500 to $1,000, to a $10,000 cost, with just an average $5,000 scholarship. Because if we're $13,400 and you're getting $5,000, it's about an $8,500 cost. So that's very affordable when the payoff for the types of jobs that you're going to get will be multiples of that. So Matt had just done a presentation, and Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, but you had indicated that, particularly with federal government, that anywhere between a jump of 12 to 15,000 per year based on the pay scale for federal government. And that pays off in a hurry.
That's correct. And I'm glad you brought that up, Catherine. I meant to mention that when I was talking about employment statistics. Yeah, if you look in the public sector, we use the US federal government as our benchmark because their salary data is readily available. But yeah, if you look at a student coming directly out of undergrad, is going to typically make between $37,000, $38,000 and $45,000 working for the federal government at what's called the GS7 level. If you come out of graduate school with a master's degree, you can be qualified, or you can apply for positions at the GS9 schedule or salary, and that is anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000, maybe even $17,000 more per year just by having that master's degree. So it does pay off rather quickly to do that.
Thank you. Yes. I just think it's important to know even what the expectation into the type of career path that you're going, and that this does really have benefit that'll pay off for years and years to come. So do realize that while you're coming in with scholarship in year one, it's year two that you could apply for a graduate assistantship. So we are a little unique in that we only grant those to second year students. We want to see that you have established yourself in year one, that you've provided yourself time to get involved, be active in the activities we have here, attend different speaker events, get help when you need it, work with your groups. And so while we don't encourage students necessarily to work part-time, several of them do. You got to pay the bills, you got to pay the bills. But in the second year, you may have that opportunity to be a graduate assistant. If you do get that graduate assistant position, you do have to give up the first year scholarship. We don't stack them on top. It's one or the other. So either you're renewed at that $5,000 level, or if you become a graduate assistant, you're now making probably closer to $14,000 per year, and you give up that $5,000. The only difference of that is if you are to secure a graduate assistant position or a TA position, a resident advisor position, elsewhere on the Texas A&M campus through another department. If that is the case, then that does not affect your Bush School funding because it is not our funding. So many times students will be using the resources Jobs for Aggies, which is where all the Texas A&M jobs are advertised, sometimes including some of the community jobs. And you can look for those as you come in that summer and the fall and see what you can do to find that balance. We already talked about the internship scholarships that are also available to you. So overall, we are very cost effective. Our cost of living here in Bryan College Station is about $21,000. If you are coming in as an MIP student, those costs are listed there. It's a little bit higher. And if you are a non-Texan, then you do pay the out-of-state rates for that one-year degree because they don't offer scholarships. So that's about it in terms of what I wanted to present. I did see that there is a question that I believe Matt was trying to answer us to, that said, asked if we could choose a master's thesis option and get a supervisor, but we don't have a master's thesis option. While there are some students who do go on to do a PhD and can write and work with a faculty member, they're probably doing that more in line as a student worker, helping them research particular projects that they're working on, or maybe they're working as a GA. So everyone has to do the capstone project here, but you might be able to work with a little more with faculty one-on-one to get some of that writing help. Okay. So are there any other questions that if anyone wants to unmute and ask, now's your opportunity. I'm going to give a couple of seconds for that. And otherwise we will call it a day. And I'm going to remind you that you can get a hold of me through Bush School Admissions at tamu.edu. And then the phone number there, if you ever need to get a hold of Ashley and myself, and we are happy to answer any of your further questions. All right, I'm going to be quiet for a few seconds if anyone wants to unmute and ask a question. All right, I'm going to leave a lot of dead time. So just remember, there is one more upcoming event. That'll be the financial aid webinar. There's a lot of new material in that webinar, so be sure to tune in for that. It'll be next Wednesday, November the 10th. We also have every 1 to 2 weeks Zoom Q&A hours where you can just drop in and listen to what other people are asking. We had anywhere between 1 student who comes on to 8 or 9 students that are just switching out, and we're rotating out different questions. And it's very helpful to hear what they have to ask and our answers to that. So usually it's Ashley and myself and maybe 1 student. Next one is Thursday, November the 11th, and another one on Monday, November 22nd. We'll start hosting them every single week after Thanksgiving. So there's always an opportunity to just drop in for that. And then you can always just pick up the phone and call or email us. I am involved in a number of other online fairs. I believe another one is next week. And then we also have the open houses, which I have one here tomorrow in person for those that find themselves visiting the Bryan College Station area and want to just see our facilities and interact with us one-on-one. So we will have those all up on our website under the admissions section. Just go in and sign up for what you like. And we appreciate your time today. Just be sure you reach out. Let us know if we can help during the application process if you're at that stage. And thank you guys so much for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day.